All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. The Detroit Lions got absolutely phenomenal news this afternoon. I just gotten off my plane. I'm checking Twitter. I see Ben Johnson's name from, Schefter or whoever it was, and I'm thinking, oh man, I'm wondering, was it Washington or was it Seattle? And no, it's the Detroit Lions. Ben Johnson, the offense coordinator, the brilliant mind that has led this Detroit Lions offense in the year 2023 to the third best yards per game, 394.8 yards per game. That's good for third in the National Football League. He's got Jared Goff, 30 touchdowns. Jared Goff throwing for almost 260 passing yards per game. That's second in the National Football League. The rushing attack with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, which we'll be talking about later on in the video, 136 yards per game. That is fifth in the league. And obviously, this high-powered electric offense that is putting up 271.1 points. Could you imagine? 27.1 points per game, which is, pretty damn good. That's good for fifth in the National Football League. One of the hottest head coaching candidates decides to come back to the Detroit Lions. His deal was not adjusted to say, proving that money is not Johnson's biggest motivator. The Lions could still opt to adjust the contract down the line, but it's not the reason that Johnson returned to Detroit today. Loyalty is everything, and I loved, unfinished business. So Ben Johnson called Amon-Ra St. Brown this morning on St. Brown's podcast and told him he couldn't sleep. There's unfinished business. My heart is in Detroit, and this is awesome. And so we're going to be talking about it, but before we do, if you guys enjoy it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. Lions fans, this is awesome. This is absolutely awesome. But before we get into tonight's video, if we could try and get it to 250 likes, that would mean the absolute world to me. I can't wait to wait. I cannot wait to make so much Lions content this upcoming offseason, especially as we get closer to draft day, and especially because Ben Johnson is returning back. So here's the thing, man. Like Dan Campbell, we know how hard it is to win in the National Football League, right? It's timing, it's skill, it's contracts. Like there's just so much that goes into having a Super Bowl winning team and also just having a Super Bowl caliber roster, right? Like players want more money, players leave. You have coordinators like Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, who decide to leave, and it just gets more difficult. Like winning is difficult, but like prolonging that winning is even more difficult. And the thing with Detroit is, we just mentioned all those statistics, fifth in the league in yards per game. Jared Goff had a phenomenal season, 4,500 yards, 30 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. I have a phenomenal A-plus free agency acquisition in David Montgomery, who ran for over 1,000 yards, averaged 4.6 yards per carry, and had a whopping 13 rushing touchdowns. And then I also have my rookie Jahmyr Gibbs. And here's the crazy part, guys. He only had 182 attempts this season. That's 11 per game. Jahmyr Gibbs had 11 to 12 rushes per game and was 55 yards below the 1,000-yard ticker. He also had 10 rushing touchdowns, 5.2 yards per carry. This isn't college. Those are college statistics. And so, we heard it on the broadcast from Greg Olsen or whoever it was, and we heard it from Dan Campbell himself. I feel like that kind of, his comment saying, like, we might not get back here. This might have been our greatest opportunity. I felt like that was kind of blown out of proportion, or not proportion, but that comment itself is misleading because Dan Campbell himself obviously knows how difficult it is to win in the football league, but also to prolong that winning. But, like the following day and that night after the loss and, just like pretty much all of Sunday night and all of Monday yesterday, we're hearing, damn, dude, you know what? Detroit's still in a really good position. Right? Even when they lose Ben Johnson, you still have Jared Goff. You have all those players I mentioned. You've got one of the best tight ends in the league, and he was a rookie in Sam Laporta. You've got Amon-Ra St. Brown. You've got a youngster in his second year, his first full season in Jameson Williams, who had a great playoff game against San Francisco, had a final great 6 to 8 weeks in the league in the regular season / postseason. They're going to be just fine, right? But losing Ben Johnson's a very big deal, and it would have been a big deal. And I got to say, I get it. Ben Johnson had a big asking price, as he should, whether it was Seattle or Washington. Neither of that really matters. I like Sam Howell. I like Geno Smith. But you need to win in football. And when you don't win, Doesn't matter how your existing roster, like the roster you inherited was. It doesn't matter the roster moves you make and the draft picks you make and the player development that you have. None of that really even matters. All that matters when you're the head coach is your final record and how far you got if you got into the playoffs. So, if you're a 37-year-old genius offensive mind, you need to get into the right system. You need to get into the right franchise so you don't get canned, even if it's not your issue or it's not your problem, whatever. So I get it both ways, loyalty and also situationally. I just want to say I'm so glad that Ben Johnson is back as the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. This was not expected to me. I guess now that the reports are breaking, it was never really, like a clear-cut shot that he was going to be the head coach for the Seahawks or the Washington job or whatever. I actually just saw that the Washington front office was like headed to Detroit when he decided to come back, but neither here nor there. Consistency is very important, and just Ben Johnson's track record with the fifth best offense in the Detroit Lions this season. They also had a phenomenal offense last season, even though they went 9-8 in a season where they started 1-6. He led that offense to, once again, the fifth best scoring team in the National Football League, and yards wise, the third best yards per game and yards averaged in the National Football League. So this is now back-to-back seasons. And so, yeah, no, it wouldn't have been, the Detroit Lions are effed here if Ben Johnson decided not to come back. But it certainly would have been, damn, dude, you got to go out there and you got to find a competent replacement who's going to fit your personnel and who fit the scheme you're envisioning. Or if, the scheme he's bringing in, if your players and your personnel fits that, like, it just would have been unideal. Ben Johnson had accepted a head coaching job. So this is huge. And to be quite honest with you, it's crazy because this is January 30th. We're like 3 days removed from the conference championship, and the offseason technically for the Lions just started. They're going to have another good draft, and they're going to have another good free agency. But I still think at this time next season, whether or not Ben Johnson's still the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions, we're going to be looking back at this moment and being like, damn, dude, that was probably the biggest move the Lions made. The biggest thing that happened to the Lions in this past offseason. So consistency, longevity, you don't see it much. That's what the Detroit Lions offensively have been seeing for 2 straight seasons now. We know Jared Goff can play in big-time games because of his previous track record and this season. And yeah, man, you gotta, Dan Campbell's, right? Maybe change your coaching philosophy once you get into the second half of a postseason game. I'm not saying he was in the wrong. I'm not saying he was in the right. It doesn't really matter to me. The past is the past, but this is absolutely money. They'll probably go out there and make a couple moves. They got a couple of critical free agents that they need to re-sign. They're going to have another good draft. I assume they're going to pick up a more sturdy wide receiver too. I saw Darnell Mooney getting floated out there. I don't like that, but I like the idea of it. So great day to be a Detroit Lions fan. Glad you guys got Ben Johnson back. Hit that like button, hit that sub button, but most importantly, let me know your thoughts on the news that broke today. Peace.